This is the newly released KeyChron K8 Pro mechanical keyboard. In this video, I'm going to show you an unboxing of this keyboard and give you my thoughts after using this keyboard for a few days. I'm also going to tell you how it compares to other KeyChron mechanical keyboards. Let's get into it. My name is Patrick and this is Everyday Tech for everyday people. Here I have the KeyChron K8 Pro mechanical keyboard. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I love my mechanical keyboards. It's been one of the best upgrades I've made to my setup since the start of the pandemic. I started off with the KeyChron K2 keyboard, which is a 75% sized keyboard. Then I moved on to the low profile K7 keyboard, which is a 65% sized mechanical keyboard. And here, the K8 Pro is an 80% sized keyboard. Now I'll do a size comparison in a moment, but let me show you a little unboxing I did to show you what you get in the box. So here we're going to unbox the KeyChron K8 Pro. As you can tell, I have not even, this is a real unboxing. The plastic is still on here, so I'm going to start ripping it here. This should be similar to all the rest of the other KeyChron keyboards in the lineup. But let me take off the plastic here, just kind of go through some of the things on the box. On the box, you have the different features of this. This talks about the firmware, the configurator software, Bluetooth 5.0, screw-in stabilizers, hot swappable key switches. These are the brown switches, so if I want to swap this out for another switch, let's say linear switches for gaming, I can just do part of the keyboard for that. And then this is the PBT keycaps, so type of material keycaps. Let's see. On the back, you have more of the features here, the different layouts and different configurations they have of this. So anyway, let's get into this. This is just a normal box like this. Got some padding here. And we have a quick guide, and these are very important, especially if you want to know how to do some of the features. They'll probably tell you some of the main features of switching devices. You can do up to 3 devices here, how to switch some of the different keys as far as the backlit patterns. This is switching out layers and layouts. So I'm not going to get into too much of the software itself, but that's kind of cool. And more different documentation here. But let's see, before I get into the keyboard, USB-C cable. This is a nice braided one. I don't know if this is going to be long enough, depending on your setup, but I would always have a USB-C cable close by. And then as all the KeyChron keyboards, they come with the different Windows keys. So most KeyChrons, the reason why I like KeyChrons are I'm a Mac guy, and these are Mac first keyboards. And so that's really good. But they do have the ability to switch instantly to Windows. And if you're doing Windows most of the time, then you have these Windows keys, and you can switch it to the Alt key instead of the Option key on the Mac. Then we have screwdriver here to take out the stabilizers, I believe. And then we have, this is to pull out the keycaps here. This is to pull out the keycaps. This is to pull out the switches here. And so that's what we have in there. And so let's take out the keyboard here. Then you have more documentation to see warranty information and more detailed instructions on everything here. So that's really cool. This is an 80% keyboard, meaning so 100% would have the full layout with probably the number pad as well. I have the low profile K7 here. This is 65% keyboard here. So you can tell the difference as far as layout is concerned, the different keys here. I have the extra keys here. I have this on the side here. But I also have, so a lot of the combined keys. I have all my function keys here with the media keys. And to do some of the media stuff or the function keys, you have to hit the function here. Here on my K7 here, I have the 2 function keys, so I have to learn multiple function keys, multiple shortcuts. This is more of what I've been used to before, so this is kind of cool that you have less shortcuts to worry about. Really, this function key will be for other things. Okay, now this is very different than my low profile one for sure. This is back to when I had the K2, and man, this keyboard sounds really nice. So I'm going to do a sound test very soon later on. I'm just going to take you through a quick look while I have this top-down view. Okay, first, my first impressions. This is a heavy keyboard. Oh my gosh, I think I've been used to my low profile K7 there for a while, but this is way heavier than even my K2 keyboard, and I'll bring that out as comparison later. But I'll confirm that this is a really hefty keyboard. Now, initially, I know I'll do a quick sound test, but this is the best sounding keyboard I've had. Okay, to be honest with you, these feel like linear switches actually, but they do have a little bit of resistance. But usually on brown switches, you can kind of feel a little bit of a kind of a click there initially at the top. But these have it's very subtle. It's very subtle, but actually it feels very good, and I think you can get really used to it. If you're really wanting a clickety feel or something in between, I'm interested to see how the blue switches would work. But the nice thing about this keyboard is these are hot swappable. So on my K2 keyboard, they were soldered in, so I was stuck with red switches. So as far as the look is concerned, these are really nice. It has the enter key, the different color, the dual tone. So this is a really slick, nice looking keyboard here. Okay, on the back we have a really simple 2-level feet here, depending on your desired ergonomics that you want. I will say that for me personally, I definitely need a wrist pad here, so that's going to be interesting to try out. Now I'm going to be trying this out for a week before I send it out to my friend, but I'll be interested to see how these feel. These just, I can't get over the sound. These sound incredible. So I'm going to do a sound test that may or may not come through. Okay, on to the different parts of the keyboard. Like any typical KeyChron keyboard, you have on the side here, you have a USB-C cable here. You have the switch here. This is for Windows / Android or Mac / iOS. And then you have your off blue cable and Bluetooth. So this can be both wired and Bluetooth or wireless. So I always keep a USB cable around with my mechanical keyboards, especially on my K7. The battery life isn't that great, but sometimes I just don't care. I just want the wired connection as well, just in case I really need it to be as responsive as possible. Other than that, we have the 2 indicator lights here. You have Bluetooth. So this has been an unboxing of the K8 Pro by KeyChron. So before we get into the typing experience, let's get into the build quality and size of this keyboard. First of all, the first thing you'll notice is, wow, this thing is heavy. This is very well built, but it's really heavy, especially compared to any keyboard I've ever owned, actually. Now, this is an 80% size keyboard. If we compare this to the K2, which is 75%, you'll notice on the K2 there are a few keys missing. I believe it's only 3 keys though. It's the insert key, the right option key, and the Siri or whatever digital assistant key. But it's not, as far as missing keys are concerned, it's not a big deal. There is a little bit of different layout. Some of the page up and down are to the right of it. Now, if you had 100% layout key, full-size keyboard, you'll also have the number pad on the right side as well. Now, one thing I'll point out for the K8 Pro here is it's the way the function keys are spread out, and the media keys and the function keys are all together. So here at the top, you'll see that you have the back button, the play button, and then there's a little bit of space, and then you have the forward button. So It's kind of weird that the forward and the play and backward buttons are a little bit separated out, but I get it. It's an aesthetic kind of thing, and it's the way the Mac media keys are laid out, but it's just a small thing, but I just wanted to point that out. So the K2 and the K8 are very similar in size, just a different layout, a little bit more spread out, just a few missing keys. But when we compare it to something like the K7, which is a 65% size keyboard, it's very different. Here, the numbers are together with the media key and the function keys. So this does require you to use the function keys and more combination of the two keys to get certain the media functions and the function keys as well. Now this did take me a little while to get used to, but I did get used to it. Now that I've been using this K8 Pro for a few days, I'm gonna have to relearn how to get used to those media keys. So it's nice that the K8 Pro, along with the K2, has separated out the media keys and the function keys to its own row. So here comes the most important thing. How does it feel to use this keyboard? I would say this is probably the best keyboard I've ever used, actually. Now, I've had the brown switches here. If you got the blue switches, it's the most tactile, most clickety type of keyboard. They say that's good for typists. If you get the red linear switches, which has no tactile feel, it's really good for gaming. But the brown switches are somewhere in between. It suits my needs very well. But past the switches, it has a sound absorbing foam layer, has a silicone padding on the bottom. Just overall, it's a very premium feel typing with this keyboard. But the thing I love most about this keyboard is how it sounds. Now it's kind of hard to explain, but I was quite surprised when I started typing on this keyboard. I didn't think a keyboard or the sound of a keyboard could really impress me, but it immediately took me back to the mechanical keyboards of the 80s and 90s. Now it doesn't have that metal mechanical type of sound that some keyboards have, but it doesn't have that cheap plasticky sound that some keyboards has. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like the smell of fresh brewed coffee. It triggers a memory or feeling for sure. So here's a quick sound test of this keyboard, and we'll also compare the sound to other keyboards as well. The other feature that KeyChron really wants you to know is that this keyboard uses the QMK/VIA firmware. What does that mean for you? It means that you can really customize this keyboard in software. Now, this is a feature that's been more common in Windows, but it's been lacking in Mac. But of course, you can do some remapping of keys in Mac OS. But it's nice to have a dedicated software to do not only remapping, but also create macros. Now, I personally don't have any use of remapping keys and creating macros, but it's nice to know that it's there, and the software was really easy to use as well. Now, here are a few things I didn't like about this keyboard. I did mention about the layout of the back, play, pause, and forward buttons. That's just a minor thing. This is a backlit keyboard, and you can adjust the brightness of the backlit. You can actually do it very finely with 30 levels of adjustment, about 30 levels. But the problem is if I hold down the lower backlit brightness, it only does it once, meaning it doesn't keep on repeating itself. I have to hit it really up to 30 times, right? There is a function button or a shortcut button to toggle on and off the backlit, but if I'm going from the lowest level to the highest level of brightness, I'm going to be hitting that a lot of times. Speaking of the backlit, there is a dedicated button to change the pattern, but let's say you pressed it on purpose or accidentally and you want to get to another pattern of backlit. Let's say you want to make it all solid, or you want it to kind of alternate patterns. You just have to keep on toggling that button until you get to the right one. I wish there was a preset that you can just set for certain patterns of your backlit, but this is the same for all KeyChron mechanical keyboards as well. And then the last thing I'll mention is, again, this is a pretty heavy keyboard. This could be both a pro and a con, but this is definitely not something that you're going to be trying to lift off your desk and put on your lap very often, but that's a personal choice as well. Well, what's my final verdict of this keyboard? If it's not obvious, I really love this keyboard. It's probably the best mechanical keyboard I've ever used. It has the word Pro in its name, and it really lives up to that name. The typing experience, both in feel and in sound, is very premium. I love how KeyChron keyboards are all Mac first keyboards, but they are Windows compatible, and they even do come with the Windows keycaps if you decide to go that way. As far as purchasing this keyboard, I think it's the best bang for your buck keyboard to buy. As of this recording, this keyboard is about $90. I love how with mechanical keyboards, you can really customize the typing experience to meet your needs, but you can also really customize the look and feel of a keyboard to match your personality as well. Now I'll link to the other keyboards I also mentioned in this video in the description below. If you like this video, give it a like and consider subscribing. Until the next one, see ya.